My parents tried to turn me into my brother's personal financier. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of that move still burns like acid in my throat. 3 days later, as I stare at the faint water stain on my best friend's spare room ceiling, surrounded by suitcases that smell of desperation and defeat. I'm 27 years old, a senior designer at a respected architecture firm, and I've been reduced to a couch surfing cliché because I finally, irrevocably, refused to bankroll a grown man's endless, self-indulgent delusions. To understand the depth of this betrayal, you have to understand the landscape of the last 5 years. I've lived in the self-contained, surprisingly spacious granny flat above my parents' detached garage. It was a perfect, symbiotic arrangement after I finished my exhausting master's degree and landed my first real job at the firm. They charged me $750 a month, a laughable steal in our corner of Southern California, where a decent studio apartment would ruthlessly drain over $2,000 from your account. I saw it as a generous, loving leg up, a strategic chance to save aggressively for a down payment on a sleek condo of my own. A place with my name on the deed. My parents, George and Linda, have always operated with a particular, unspoken hierarchy when it came to my older brother, Ryan, who's 30. Calling Ryan the favorite is an understatement. He's the family's prodigal son who never actually bothers to leave. Growing up, his mediocre, half-hearted achievements were met with gilded, framed celebrations, while my honors diplomas and design awards garnered a distracted pat on the head and a swift change of subject to whatever Ryan was thinking about doing. When Ryan flunked out of community college, it was spun as a brave, soul-searching journey. When I passed my grueling architecture license exams, it was met with a, "That's nice, dear. So proud. Did you hear Ryan is considering a coding boot camp? He's so tech-savvy." Ryan's employment history is a chaotic, pathetic graveyard of half-started ventures and abandoned gigs. He's been a personal trainer for 3 months until he got bored, a real estate agent who miraculously sold one house to our gullible aunt, a brand consultant, which meant he made a few ugly logos for his friends, and most recently, a content creator and part-time food delivery driver. He speaks in a constant stream of buzzwords about blockchain, NFTs, and the metaverse, but his perpetually empty bank account tells the true brutal story. Meanwhile, I've been grinding. I work full-time at a prestigious architecture firm. I've shepherded 2 major, multi-million-dollar projects from fragile conception to solid, finished reality, and last year, I secured a significant promotion to senior designer, complete with a title and a salary that finally reflected my worth. I've been meticulous, watching my condo fund grow with every disciplined sacrifice. But here's the part of the equation my parents willfully, consistently ignored. My rent was never just the $750 that left my account every month. My dad is 65, with a lumbar spine that's been slowly failing him. And my mom is 62, plagued by recurring, debilitating migraines that leave her helpless in a dark room for days. I have been their on-call, 24/7 tech support, handy person and personal assistant for years. I've set up their entire convoluted smart home system, patiently managed their complex investments and tedious tax paperwork because they find it intimidating, unclogged their disgusting drains, painted the entire interior of their sprawling house, and assembled every piece of infuriating flat-pack furniture they've ever dragged home. Last year, my dad had a minor but painful spinal surgery. I used up every single day of my sick leave and precious vacation time to be his primary, unpaid caregiver during a long and frustrating recovery. I drove him to every physical therapy appointment, managed his complex schedule of pain medication, did all the grocery shopping and cooking, and handled all the household chores for 2 solid months. My mom was weepily grateful. But Ryan? He managed to grace us with his presence maybe 4 times, each visit lasting just long enough to devour a meal I'd prepared and complain about the Wi-Fi signal. I never sent them an invoice for my time. They were giving me a financial break, and they're my parents. It felt like a fair, unspoken, familial trade. Then enter Sasha. Ryan met her 2 years ago in a yoga class, and they were married in a whirlwind destination ceremony after knowing each other for just 9 months. Sasha is 25 and her career is purely aspirational. She's a self-proclaimed life coach and spiritual guide with a painfully curated YouTube channel that has barely cracked 900 subscribers and an Instagram feed saturated with filtered photos of her meditating on beaches and drinking vibrantly green kale smoothies. She's the absolute master of performative helplessness, all wide, innocent eyes and saccharine sweet talk around my parents. But I see the cold, calculating engine humming behind the facade. They lived in a small, wildly overpriced apartment in a trendy but impractical neighborhood, constantly flirting with and often receiving eviction notices. I started noticing my parents becoming oddly, uncharacteristically frugal, suddenly too busy for their usual lavish weekend brunches, putting off replacing their aging, groaning washing machine. I slowly pieced it together. They were quietly funneling significant money to Ryan and Sasha, a secret financial life support system. 4 months ago, the final eviction notice landed. Ryan and Sasha's temporary, just until we get our bearings, stay in his old childhood bedroom began. My parents were deliberately vague, smiling tightly and saying they just needed a few weeks, a month at most, to get back on their feet. Those few weeks have now stretched into a third of a year, with no end in sight. Ryan still drives for Uber Eats when he feels like it, or when the threat of having his car repossessed becomes too real. And Sasha is now selling dubious, energized crystal jewelry and aura cleansing sprays online, which is so clearly a pyramid scheme she grandly calls her spiritual enterprise. The warning signs for me started blinking red about a month ago. My parents would fall into an abrupt, uncomfortable silence when I entered the kitchen. They began asking strangely specific, pointed questions about my exact salary after my promotion, and my precise savings goals and timeline. I foolishly thought they were just being interested, if a little intrusively so. Then 2 weeks ago, my mom asked me out of the blue over tea if I ever felt stunted or developmentally delayed from living above my parents' garage, if I didn't crave the true independence of my own place. I brushed it off, but a cold, hard knot of unease formed deep in my stomach. Then last Monday they asked for a family meeting in the living room. I assumed it was to discuss my dad's upcoming specialist appointment or plans for their anniversary. Instead, my dad cleared his throat, avoided my eyes, and announced in a rehearsed tone that they were increasing my rent to $1,800, effective the 1st of next month. I was so stunned I actually felt the air leave my lungs. That was more than double, and it was actually above the current market rate for a garage apartment in our area. Why? I finally managed to ask, my voice a thin wire. The cost of everything has gone up, Sophia, my dad said, still studying the pattern on the rug. Property taxes, insurance. We have to be realistic about the fair value of the space. Does this sudden urgent need for fair value have anything to do with the 2 permanent, non-paying guests currently occupying your spare bedroom? I asked, my voice deceptively, dangerously calm. My mom's face tightened into a mask of pained offense. That is a separate and private issue, Sophia. Ryan's situation is temporary and fragile. This is about us being fair to ourselves as landlords in a difficult economy. Landlords. I let out a short, harsh, brittle laugh. Landlords don't get free, on-demand IT support, financial planning, and home repairs. I've saved you tens of thousands of dollars over the years. What's the market rate for a live-in tech consultant, financial advisor, and handyman? Should we draw up a contract for that, too? My dad had the gall to look genuinely pained. We appreciate all you do, honey, you know we do, but that's what family does for each other. It shouldn't be part of a cold business transaction. Oh, so we're family when it's convenient for you. When it means I provide free labor, but we're a business transaction, when you need to squeeze me for an extra $1,000 a month? I shot back, my temper fraying into raw, exposed nerves. What about all the family money you've been secretly giving Ryan and Sasha for the last 2 years? Is that a business transaction or just blatant, unadulterated favoritism? My mom gasped as if I'd slapped her. That is none of your business. How dare you? It became my business the second you decided to fund their aimless life by financially gouging me. I was on my feet now, my hands trembling at my sides. The fight exploded from there, a toxic cloud filling the tidy living room. My mom cried, saying I was being cruel and unfeeling, and that Ryan was in a sensitive transitional period. My dad accused me of being ungrateful and selfish after all they'd done to help me. I told them in no uncertain terms that if they wanted a pure, sterile business relationship, then we would immediately formalize a proper lease, require 30 days written notice for any rent increase, and I would cease all non-tenant services effective immediately. They couldn't have it both ways. They couldn't demand family sacrifice with one hand and a landlord's premium with the other. My mom sobbed that they never formally asked me to do those things, that I just volunteered. Because I thought we were a family, I yelled, my voice cracking with a pain that shocked even me. I thought we helped each other without keeping a ledger. But it seems that sacred rule only applies one way, only when Ryan needs something. My dad stood up, his face mottled with anger and shame. Ryan is struggling. He needs our support. You are stable. You are successful. You should be grateful we helped you for so long instead of biting the hand that feeds you. Grateful. I spat the word out like poison. If we are calculating my free labor at market rate for the last 5 years, you'd owe me money. A lot of it. So let's talk about gratitude. It was a circular, brutal, emotionally draining argument that lasted over an hour, going nowhere. They never once admitted the transparent truth. Finally, a switch flipped inside me, from white-hot rage to icy, absolute resolution. Fine. You want $1,800? You can find some other sucker to pay it. I'm moving out. My mom called me dramatic and hysterical. My dad said I was cutting off my nose to spite my face, that I was throwing away a good deal over pride. I didn't care. I turned my back on them, walked up the stairs to my apartment, and started furiously searching for apartments online that very night. The next day, I called in sick and found a beautiful, sun-drenched one-bedroom loft downtown with exposed brick, massive factory windows, and access to a rooftop terrace, all for $1,750, less than they wanted to charge me. My application was approved within hours, a testament to my impeccable credit and rock-solid employment history. I signed the digital lease without a word to them. A mix of terror and triumph coursing through me. Wednesday morning, I was woken by the familiar sound of Ryan and Sasha having a heated, whispered argument right below my floor. Sasha was whining about needing a new, high-end laptop for her content creation, and Ryan was sighing about money before suggesting in a tired voice, "Maybe Mom and Dad can help us out just one more time. It's an investment." That was the moment the last shred of doubt, the last flicker of guilt, vanished. This rent increase wasn't about market value or property taxes. It was a cold, calculated, targeted extraction to fund the golden child's endless, irresponsible lifestyle. I stormed down the exterior stairs and into the main house. My parents were sitting at the kitchen island, drinking coffee. I found an apartment. I'm moving out in 3 days, I announced, my voice flat and final. The fallout was immediate and ugly. My mom burst into tears and pleaded, asking what they had done to deserve this. My dad blustered, his face turning red, telling me I was making the biggest mistake of my life, and that I'd never find a better deal. Then Ryan wandered in, drawn by the commotion, and had the audacity to play the reasonable peacemaker. Whoa guys. Maybe we can all just sit down and talk this out like adults, he said, as if he were some neutral, wise mediator. I am not negotiating with people who have been systematically lying to me and manipulating me for months, I said, my voice cold and flat. Sasha fluttered in then, a vision of faux concern, and had the nerve to say, her voice dripping with fake zen, "You know, I think this shift will ultimately be better for everyone's energy. The tension in this house has been so heavy lately. It's been blocking everyone's creative flow." Her fake spiritual empathy, in that moment, made me see a blinding, pure red. I told her exactly what I thought of her energy and their collective, entitled mooching. Ryan immediately jumped to defend her hustle and her brand. I demanded specifics, timelines, job applications, any proof of their alleged efforts to become self-sufficient. I was met with a word salad of excuses about building a personal brand, networking in the digital space, and the universe providing. It devolved into a screaming match, a cacophony of hurt and anger, until my friend Mia, who had come early to help me start packing, gently intervened and reminded me we had a moving truck reserved for a limited window. The actual move-out day was a tense, tear-filled, emotionally exhausting affair. My mom pulled me aside in the garage, her hands shaking as she held mine, begging me not to let this break up the family. I told her, my heart feeling like a stone in my chest, that the ball was in their court. A genuine acknowledgement of what they did and a real apology were the non-negotiable price of admission back into my life. My dad confronted me, demanding my new address, saying he had a right to know where his daughter lived. I looked him straight in the eye and told him that rights were earned through consistent respect and honesty, not demanded through parental authority. He called me childish and vindictive. Finally, I handed back my keys, the metal feeling cold and insignificant in my palm. I gave them both a stiff, awkward hug that felt like embracing strangers, and told them I loved them but could no longer participate in a dynamic that was so fundamentally unfair and dishonest. As Mia and I drove away from the curb, the moving truck following us, filled with the physical remnants of my old life, I felt a confusing, torrential mix of liberation, profound grief, and a residual, white-hot anger. That was 2 days ago. Now, I'm sitting cross-legged on the bare, polished concrete floor of my new, empty loft, surrounded by towers of sealed cardboard boxes. The silence is profound, absolute, and entirely my own. No muffled arguments, no passive-aggressive comments floating up through the floorboards. No demands on my time, my skills, or my wallet. It is both terrifying and utterly exhilarating. My phone has been buzzing intermittently on the floor beside me. Ryan, don't let this stupid money stuff come between us, sis. We're family. My mom, we're your family, we love you more than anything, please just call me. My dad, this is a mistake. You'll regret this impulsive decision. But for the first time in my life, looking around at the empty space that belongs only to me, I don't think I will. I'm not just moving my furniture from one point to another. I'm moving on with my life, on my own terms, with my integrity intact. They made their choice, consciously prioritizing Ryan's comfort and excuses over my well-being and basic fairness. Now I'm making mine. I am choosing myself. The chapter of being the reliable, capable, perpetually taken for granted daughter is decisively closed. This empty, sun-washed loft isn't just a new apartment. It's a blank canvas, a declaration of independence, and for the first time in a very long time, I am the only one holding the brush.